Welcome to ThaiLawForum. Today I'm joined by Navidomskis. Wes is an attorney from Texas, and we're going to be discussing gun control in the US and the laws surrounding it. So hello Wes, thank you so much for speaking to me.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about you?
My name is William Navidomskis. I go by Wes. I am an attorney in El Paso, Texas. I've been licensed to practice law here for almost creeping up on 10 years. I do primarily criminal defense. I am a colleague of Stuart Leeds, who I believe has lectured there at your school. And I've been doing basically kind of trial work for the last 9.5 years or so. I'm a sixth-generation El Pasoan and a sixth-generation attorney, and I'm excited to be talking to you guys.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, so the topic is guns. Firstly, people like myself who aren't from the US often don't really understand the Second Amendment and why it's important. Could you explain that?
Well, if you look at the history of our country, we basically were British subjects who overthrew the British government by force of arms, and whenever the new country was formed, the founders of our nation recognized that the ability of the citizenry to fight back against the government is an important aspect to personal freedom. And because of that, the Second Amendment was put into place to allow individuals. You talk about the first thing they passed was the ability to speak and convene and to worship as people pleased. And the second thing they did was allow people to defend those rights by owning and possessing firearms for defense. So the basis of the Second Amendment is really, strangely, to overthrow our own government. And that's kind of where that comes from. Now, if the Texas Constitution is a little bit different because it recognizes a self-defense aspect to gun ownership, which the federal Constitution does not. But the idea that you can own a firearm to protect yourself is actually separate and apart from what the federal right grants citizens of the United States.
Okay, well, I'm pleased you brought the differences between Texas up. And why is Texas in particular perceived as being so pro-gun?
Well, I think it's because Texas, in many ways, is kind of the easternmost western state. Much of the United States was taken by force of arms. I mean, we were in conflict with the indigenous peoples here for hundreds of years, and you have sort of a confluence here where you have the Spanish in the south that actually owned Texas, and then you had the Native Indian groups that were here, or Native American groups, and then the Americans, I guess you would have mostly English and Scottish and Irish who moved into the area. But also because Texas is somewhat pastoral, you have a lot of farmers and ranchers, and there's a lot of space between people. Weapons were sort of a necessary aspect of frontier life because you're always having to deal with wild animals and marauders and people who are trying to take from you. And so, kind of because of that, I think that gun culture in Texas has been sort of, I'm sitting here next to my great-great-grandfather presided over a murder trial, and I actually have the murder weapon from that case, which is an 1870s revolver.
You still have it?
Yeah, I have it here, if you can see it.
Yeah.
This is what people are, we'll get to it, but some of the changes that have occurred, I'm going to show it to you. This is it.
Oh, God.
Some of the changes that have occurred in Texas law more recently basically allow individuals to carry a weapon on their hip in plain view using this. But I guess the gun culture in Texas is just kind of, it's how the West was won, for lack of a better term. And it's just, people have sort of a romanticized view. Although nowadays you have, many individuals are not dealing with the traditional Western firearms. They're dealing in AR-15s and AK-47s and all of the state-of-the-art, mass high capacity magazine weapons and things like that. So Texas we still have a gun culture, but the guns have changed for sure.
So you mentioned then people carrying the guns on their hips. What's so important about open carry like that?
I really don't know. Personally, I think it's kind of stupid because, I guess it's just so people can walk around and wear a gun on their hip, so that they feel like they're powerful. I don't know.
Is that right? That seems really stupid that that's allowed.
I really don't. I don't think it's a good law. I think that because I have a license to carry a weapon. In fact, I have one right here. Look, you can walk around. You can carry a gun in your pocket.
So you carry it everywhere you go?
Not everywhere I go, but because under the Texas law, you can't go a lot of places with a firearm. Okay, so you're still institutions of higher learning. Strangely, the legislature has expanded the areas that a person can carry a concealed weapon to universities, if you can believe that. Now, the universities can make their own rules and they can restrict areas in which a person can carry those weapons, but they've opened them up to allow people to carry a gun. I guess like in your classroom there, if you were in Texas, there could be certain individuals in there that could have a loaded firearm, concealed on their person, which to me is it's nuts. But I don't, I guess in Virginia, the state of Virginia, in Virginia Tech, I think in 2011, 2009, somewhere in there, they had a shooting where a young man shot up a couple of classrooms. And I guess because of that, the idea is that they want, students to be able to shoot back. But the other problem is that bullets don't have names, and if you have a whole classroom full of people that are brandishing weapons, I think that's a dangerous situation. But that's the law in Texas. People like the guns. We like freedom. And I think that there's going to have to be some sort of negative repercussion based on these laws and policies that we've enacted for there to be any change, against that. And it's really strange. See, my father, I was raised with guns. Back when I was a young boy, at age 7, I was allowed. My family owns property. And I would take a rifle and walk out and shoot at stuff. Like shoot, rabbits and cans and
How old were you?
whatever else. At the time I was 7 years old. And I would do it by myself, unsupervised, completely. They would tell me just to make sure that I knew where my bullet was going to land. But that's just it was not even, looking back, it's insane. I have a 7-year-old now, and I don't even let him play outside alone.
Yeah, it's against the law. Yeah.
And, but that's just it wasn't anything strange. Looking back, it's pretty strange, but at the time, it wasn't a big deal at all.
So would you think attitudes are changing as well at the moment?
I think just with the increase of population, I grew up in a more rural town, kind of a farm town. And so out there, I think that you have a little bit, some of those attitudes are still that way, but the city is growing, and people's attitudes, and the world's kind of becoming smaller, and I think that Wild West attitude, I think, is it's being mitigated somewhat by kind of just modern trends, societal trends. But it's sort of you have these shootings, and so that's one of the reasons why I decided to go ahead and start carrying a weapon again. It's because I have kids, and we have, people are kind of doing some crazy stuff and pulling out automatic weapons and shooting in crowds of people. I'd like to be able to hide somewhere with my kids and be able to shoot back if I'm found by somebody with a weapon. And that's really why I do it. But it's a huge responsibility, too, because I'm well aware that the weapon that I carry is a lot more likely to inflict harm on myself or my family as it is to some assailant. So it's a huge responsibility to own and possess weapons, because you're walking with life and death literally in your hands all the time.
I mean, so what I'm hearing, you clearly take it, you realise that it's a big responsibility and you take that very seriously, but not everyone will take that so seriously. So what I think concerns a lot of people around the world is why should it be legal to have guns if there are so many idiots out there that...
Well, that's a great question, and it's a mantra that always gets thrown back in everyone's face. If you make guns illegal, then only the criminals are going to have them. Yeah. And you may have some idiots that carry them legally, but I think that the idea is that good basically will win out over evil, and they're hoping that that's going to be the case with regard to carrying weapons in the state of Texas. But I mean, the only answer really is time will tell. Yeah. It's, you really hope that there's not going to be too many instances of individuals who are lawfully carrying weapons that are going to, accidentally or otherwise cause somebody's death or serious bodily injury. It's, really, it's sort of a social experiment. I mean, we're going to find out how it plays out in the years to come.
Okay. Let's just turn to politics for a second. So regarding the Obama executive action for gun control, what would the implication be for Texas laws?
Primarily, Texas requires states to comply more with uploading criminal data from the state registries or state databases. So that what the executive order did primarily was it closed a loophole that was open to gun shows. So right now, if I wanted to buy a weapon, I could go to a gun store and purchase a weapon and walk out with it. Or I can go to an arms dealer who just operates out of his house and has what they call an FFL, a Federal Firearms License, and purchase the gun, fill out a 2-page form, present my concealed carry card, and then with $350, I bought this gun for $350, and I walked away with it. I had to fill out a form. Basically, all the Obama executive order did was close the loophole for gun shows for certain sellers, not all sellers, certain sellers that were able to sell weapons person to person and person-to-person transactions which do not require any kind of paperwork, and make people fill out paperwork, because it used to be that if you went to a gun show, you could find good deals on guns and ammunition. And then later, with a lot of the violence that is going, in fact, I don't know if you can see over my shoulder some of the lights out there in the distance. Mexico is right there. Well, there's a kind of a steady stream of guns that goes south of the border, and those guns primarily got, in my opinion, maybe not primarily, but in large part, are purchased at gun shows because you don't have to fill out the paperwork to acquire the firearms. You have to show up with cash, you buy your guns, and you leave. And that's what Obama closed. And so that doesn't directly affect Texas law. It's a nationwide policy that is being enforced. And it's simply just to make sure that criminals and the people that are purchasing the guns are legally allowed to have them. One other aspect of acquiring firearms that doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion, is the mental health aspect. You do not have to go through any type of mental health screening or questionnaire that asks you if you have ever been diagnosed with any sort of mental disorder. They ask if you smoke marijuana, which I don't know what that's relevant, but they ask. And that's pretty much it. You have a one-page form that you fill out if you want to buy a firearm, and that's it.
So you think you think there should be tighter screening?
I mean, it would seem, at this point, it may be kind of moot to make that law, but because there's a lot of guns. I mean, I own 15 guns, and I inherited most of them. I've only bought 3 guns in my life. So it's not like you can't get guns without, you can circumvent any kind of law that would prevent you from purchasing a brand new firearm. But yeah, in theory, I think that people should probably have to go through something. I don't know, but I don't know what the answer is, because then you really kind of restrict a person's ability to get a firearm if you're going to make them go through the expense and all that of getting a mental health screening. Although I don't think it would be inappropriate. And the other thing is just the price of firearms. I mean, you can go and get a semi-automatic weapon that can hold, 40-round magazine, and you can get one for less than $750. And that to me is insane that you can do that. Or you can just go out and buy a pistol for less than $400. Yeah. And that, we can do it at any time. But when I think about that, it really does seem like access to weapons is pretty wide open. It really is.
Yeah. Do you think Obama might scrap the Second Amendment?
He can't do that. It has to be done by amendment. So you have to have essentially 2/3 of voters amend the Constitution to get rid of the Second Amendment. So he cannot do that. I don't think that the Second Amendment's really going anywhere. And in fact, if you read it, because the purpose of the Second Amendment is to allow individuals to combat and overthrow an oppressive government, in theory, our rights to possess weapons should actually increase. Because at this point, with our little pea shooters, we have practically zero chance of defeating the United States Army because they have weapons that you and I, only see in movies. And so, to affect the purpose of the Second Amendment would actually require an expansion of Americans' ability and right to possess weapons of mass destruction, for example, bombs, atom bombs, nerve gas, whatever it is. I mean, that's if you're just thinking logically for the purpose of the Second Amendment to overthrow government, our rights should actually expand, not contract, which I don't think anyone's in favor of that.
Well, do you think there's a conflict between what the federal government wants and state rights?
Yes, but it's kind of been the trend. I mean, the Articles of Confederation that were originally put in place in this country were superseded by the United States Constitution and moved us to a federal system. But the original idea of the United States, and why they call it the United States, was for it to be very much like the European Union, where each state was its own country in effect, and that was done away with. And so currently, under our federal system, the trend is really for the states to cede power to the federal government. That's essentially the trend over the last 200 plus years. And so yes, I mean, the federal government is very likely going to be expansive in its gun control. States are going to fight that, and it's very likely, in my opinion, that states will lose those battles as the federal government tightens its restrictions on particularly automatic weapons and high-capacity magazines.
If they, just hypothetically, if they were to scrap the Second Amendment, would there be some sort of civil war? What do you think would happen?
Well, right. I mean, that could potentially happen. Yes. I mean, if you start to, especially if you get a lot of these people who really take that stuff to heart. Many of them are military and ex-military. They're trained in firearms use. They're trained in war. Many of them have been in different theaters of conflict. It certainly could happen. Now, we have a volunteer army. That's the other thing, too. So I don't know that you would have the military really cracking down on the citizenry, but it certainly would stir stuff up. Trust me. Obama basically just requiring people to fill out a form indicating that they can lawfully purchase a firearm. That's kind of why we're having this conversation, because it brought it into the news. And that's a really kind of almost, when you hear that is what he did, you almost don't even think that there would be any debate. You think that everybody would be for that. So yes, if there was an attempt to do away with the Second Amendment, I think that the people you would see a lot of marching in the street with people with weapons, with a lot of military citizenry, militia-type behavior going on. I think that's safe to say. Whether it would result in a civil war, I would hope that the democratic process could carry the day. But yeah, it would certainly it would ruffle some feathers, let's put it that way.
Okay, I just want to slightly changed direction, but we mentioned the anti-carry laws, earlier, the open carry laws rather. I read an article that said that most anti-carry laws are racial in their motivation, at least they were initially. What do you think about that?
Certainly. Laws can be really anything, but much of that comes down to the enforcement. I know, if you have these laws enacted, you can make sure that the blacks don't have their guns, and if you find a white person with a gun, you just basically turn a blind eye to it. Certainly that's had to have happened over and over in this state and others. It's true. I mean, it happens. It's also drug laws were set up that way. Many of our drug laws were set up so that the cops could shake down, particularly blacks and Hispanics, Mexican Americans. And even today, a person caught with crack cocaine is punished, I think it's on average 100 times more severely in the federal system than an individual who is caught with powder cocaine. And that's that reflects very closely the consumption. Whites take powder cocaine and blacks take crack cocaine. And so in that particular law, that has
is that really
very
true
obvious.
nowadays?
Yes, that's a fact.
Yeah? Oh, okay.
And so that occurs to this day. And so yes, I mean, I think many laws, I mean, the whole purpose of government is really to protect wealth. And, when you start with that notion, you start to realize that your individual rights are not really what's important to the people that are running the show. It's money, and money is what runs the show. And so stomping on people's rights, blacks and Hispanics and whoever else, that's not, it's not surprising to me.
All right.
I don't approve of it, and that's my job is to defend against it. But it certainly exists, yes.
Great. All right. Well, that's all my questions. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.